خب بس شد. خیلی هم عالی. خب مسابقات الان شروع شده. گایز مسابقات شروع شده یا نه؟ دل من هوا تو کرده، کاش از اون اول نبودی. استریم منیجر اینو بکنیمش دوتا نه رینبو 6 بابا چی R6 تام کلاینسیس R6 تام کلاینسیس R7 در حال شروع شدن داره مصاحبه میکنه با تیم ها. در حال شروع شدنه. اوکی بذار فقط من نتو باید سویچ کنم. اول اینجا وی پی انمون از این قطع میکنیم که بتونیم با این وی پی ان وصل شیم رو کامپیوتر. خب کجایید؟ میبینید؟ ندارید؟ بیاید. الان دسکتاپ فکر کنم دارید. درسته دسکتاپو دارید؟ الان میریم نتامونو میبندیم پارس آنلاین و پارس آفلاین. ببخشید بیادبی نمیکنم، فقط ننشو میگم. خب میریم تویچ. بذار اینو اول آف کنیم. خب الان همه چی دوباره بس میشه. صبرالله استریم قطع نشه. خب انشالله که نمیشه ولی فکر کنم بشه. اگه شد دیگه نمیدونم چه چونی باید بدم. خب قطع نشده فعلا. وصله. خب حل. میریم رینبو 6 سیج.
Yes. So that's what that reminded me of. Yeah.
That's remind me. از همین سر صدا به قرآن نونشون از این سر صدا در میاد. ببین 542 قلم آرایش میکنه میاد جلوی دوربینش. اینو نگاه کن. تو رو به امام حسین به قرآن من اینا رو نگاه نمیکنم. ساجست میده. مثلا تویچ خیلی وقت نمیرم استریم نگاه کنم. چیه این؟ یعنی چی آخه؟ این یعنی چی؟ خدا وکیلی این باید ویو داشته باشه نه این جاکشا. این سلطان تشاورفزم. به قرآن مجید دارم میگم انقدر کاراکتر خفنی داره این آدم، انقدر خوبه. یعنی من میگم جزو بهترینه تو ایران. جزوم نه بهترینه با اختلاف. ولی این باید 260 تا ویو داشته باشه. برین تو این کامیونیتی، برین تو تویچ. والا به خدا هر کیو میبینی قنبال رو به دوربین. بریم رینبو 6. Let's fucking go. بچه‌های چت دارن میگن let's fucking go. Let's go.
Vita King especially, man. Yeah. Oh, he absolutely loved it. And Philippe said it there. We're used to going to events.
720 میکشه. باید بکشه.
Event after event where we're the bad guys, we're the villains, we're the ones that everyone wants to see lose, and they don't care, Tim. They're still out here bringing the energy, as we saw yesterday. Admittedly, GK gave them a bit of a run for their money, but this is a whole different kettle of fish coming up against G2. They've been in this situation before.
چرا هر چی بریتیشه ریختن واسه گزارشگری رینبو 6 نمیفهمم من. اوایل انقدر رو مخم بود این بریتیش صحبت کردنش. آموسن از کیکس استار ببین به کجا رسیدیم. خدا بیامرزه. رست ان پیس. کجا جی تو اسپورت و W7M اسپورت. W7 دیگه کدوم؟ W7M کدوم چیزی تیم؟ اینقدر قویه یعنی W7M؟ من اصلا ندیدم. خیلی قوی هم نیستن. اوکی. انرژی دارم معلومه. اومدن که ببرن. نیومدن ببازن. بازی قشنگی قراره ببینیم. اخلاق ورزشکاری رو میبینی. حتی کامرامن هم نباید فراموش کنی اون پشت. به این میگن اخلاق. بذارید ببینم اونورم آخه خیلی قویه جی تو آخه. WC همون WC تیریه شماره. نفهمیدم. تیکشو نفهمیدم.
semi-final there as well. So, you know, we've had some big games in semi-finals, and I just get the feeling with the way that we've seen these two teams come through, G2 and W7M, you know, FaZe aside, these have been two of the best teams that we've seen at this tournament so far, and if they can both show up and deliver today, we might well just get a bit...
کلن استریماشون با 3 دقیقه تأخیره. اینم بهتون میگم مسابقات. مثلا مسابقه ببین بین که G2 و W7M. این دوکی تو جی تو هست. دیروز گایده بود. آره هستش. آره این کسکش این اسمش چی بودی؟ خیلی پلیر خفنی آجی. قیافش نگاه کن ناموسن شبیه اون یارو دانشمنده بود فلج بود رو صندلی. اسمش چی بود؟ شبیه اون میمونه. دوکی هم بازیش خوبه خودش. من نمیم میزنم میکنمش که بازیش خوبه خودش. استیون هافکینگ آفرین. آقا نمیتونم دت ببندم ولی در لیست میبره. بچه ها بدسن دیگه. شرکت کنید. بهت شرکت کنید بچه ها. تایمش یکم بیشتر هم بذار که اونایی هم که جدید میان بتونن شرکت کنن. کنسلش کن. تایمش یکم بیشتر بذار. بذار یه بار کنسلش کنه. آره بیشترش شد.
Well, here we go then. It's time to get into it.
5 دقیقه بذار تایمش. بعد ببینم. بعد بازی W7M رو ببینم تا بگم. 66% گفتن G2 میبره. 34% گفتن چیز میبره. مجلس ایران بود الان 1% ممتنع داشتیم.
This is it then, Tim. This is what it all comes down to. A little bit of smack talk there that you guys wouldn't have seen. But Benja popped up and asked, so which player was Alamau meant to replace on this team again? And Doki was in there saying JV saved himself this tournament. The mental warfare.
این بنجا مستر گسکش. خیلی پلیر خفنی. از اون روزایی که باشه روزش باشه میزنه جر میده. حالا میتونم تو بازی حواست به چت هم باشه. هستش سلطان.
What's interesting is looking at it historically, W7M would always ban away Ying and Valkyrie against G2,
اسکی زدم جی تو let's go. من تا آخه من نمیشناسم W7M ببینم بازیشونو میگم چه خبره.
The Grim and the Soulless coming away here. We've seen G2 run the Mute, the Mozzie, the Soulless on Nighthaven in particular throughout the competition. So I think here again it's just that goal to try and
به خداوندی خدا 32,500 زدید رو جی تو یه نفر اونور 10 تا بزنه 10 تا دونه بر نمیگردونم پوینتو دیگه میدم به همون یه نفری که 10 تا دونه زده. دارم بهتون میگم چرا گیریم بند شد داشت چیز پلن دارم اینا کیری کیری بازی نمی کنن که این ماهیه چیه داستانش پلیره W7M بنازم چه آزامی چه آرتی زده آزامی به به مپم که کانسولیت let's go آبجکت اول میبینید قشنگ بازیشون فرق داره
Onto this ground floor even here, yeah, stepping in as well. Looking at it though, we've still got the Mute and Mozzie on side from G2. I mentioned that Soulless band coming on through and at least reducing the strength.
اسوان رو نگاه کنید این یه دلیل داره که 5 تاشون از 4 تا 3 تا جهت مختلف میان. سر اینه که اولین کاری که کنن کل کامرای دور مپو بزنن. فهمیدی که هیچ نالجی نباشه. یارو خیالش راحت نباشه. SMG guard.
He's going to be taken down and that leaves W7 looking to fight from distance but
داداشم اونو ماهی جلوه جوله
Two early kills coming in, no basement pressure under their control. You've got Philippox still flirting around Boiler at the minute, playing on the Lion, hoping to push on through. But for W7M in a 3 versus 5, these are the kind of rounds that G2 just don't throw away.
Unlikely. Philippox is going to be heading up those yellow stairs slowly, wanting that slow peek around the corner, see if he can catch anybody out moving. He's actually going to find himself all the way up at the top, but all the way down as Dolan puts him down near. Somehow has managed to wriggle into a position to put this diffuser down, and I'm not sure that G2 were aware that Nitro comes in a little bit late. They're going to have to play the retake, but in a 5 versus 1, you've got to say that JV92's really got his work cut out for him here. Finds the first. Yes, he can. 1 versus 3. JV92, he's on the way, Des.
Well, Ben just at least trying to stick this one out, but he needs the cover to come on through. He'll try and make this all the way through the vertical. He's there.
Nice try.
The angel of death.
چه خوب بازی کرد. بنازم. ایسه چقدر خوب بازی کرد.
Tim JV almost completely undoing them.
Yeah, there was certainly a moment there where I think a few G2 hearts will have been in mouth.
او پایله همون اول دیفیت نمیشد کار در می آوردن دوتایی.
JV just really started to spin things on its head and you just know he's one of those players that really does have the ability to turn around a situation like that and to get it done.
اون میوت جمره میخورد دیوار وا میشد به قرآن بازی میگرفت به قرآن میگرفت همون یه دونه دیوار. چقدر بچه هست 18 سالشونه دیگه فکر چند سالش
I'm sure that they will be.
G2 have, I mean, we're focusing on G2 a lot here, but given the start of the game, it's always worth talking about as well. G2 have had a couple of slow starts.
نگاه کن چقدر خوب زد حاجی این نگاه کن.
You think about the classic Ramallo timeouts that come in after a couple of rounds and just say, right boys, chill. Get the communications together, play back in a bit tighter, fresh, did a wonderful telestrator showing their skyscraper approach and just showed how they tightened things up a little bit and suddenly everything massively improved. So I think the same thing would have come out from G2 here if they found themselves going down a couple of rounds, but they managed to recover that one on their own, got a good setup in the post plant, was a little bit nervous for a second. I honestly think the mute jammer coming through onto that wall that blocked off the Ace Selma, that won it for them. So just that simple act of a mute jammer on that individual wall for me made that round doable for G2.
نگاه کن یه پنجره رو میشکونه خب 20 ثانیه حداقل واسه تیمش وقت میخره یه پنجره رو نگاه کن حکمت خدا رو این بچه سنی نداره رفته اروپا جلوی G2 اون وقت ما درگیر اینیم چجوری بریم سرور اروپا دقیقاً کشور خیلی تاثیر داره تو مسیر زندگی
making it difficult to push out of admin. W7M are going to have an answer for that, and that's either got to be direct, they've got to have a plan to clear it out, or it's got to be an alternative, it's got to be move in from elsewhere, which it looks at the minute like they might be doing. KZ's going to get underneath in Piano, try to use those vertical nades just to ensure that they're clear in behind that console desk, and it might just start to open up the windows a little bit for them.
Given the fact they're all positioned on the west side of the map here, there's no pressure coming in towards admin, for example. It feels to me like they want to get in below, get some nades coming up, use the Flores to move players around, and then look for a plant in through window. And sure enough, there's that first nade kill that I was on about. It's Alamau being found out.
Yeah, Herds was the first death last time, but makes amends by picking up the first kill. Nade is in position. With diffuser in hand, we actually see him repel in, but Benja manages to take him down. That's diffuser down cold in sight as well. So W7M, it's all swung for them, and where they were kind of on the front foot, they've been pushed back by G2. Two important kills. Herds manages to get a second KZ onto Uno, and W7M know they've no diffuser. They know.
Doki
they
bekken.
just need to find the
Bekken
kills.
to رو
Boy, do they start finding them.
Need a bit of a
Bekken.
out of Doki, but it's not going to happen. Herds.
نه تیمشون خوبه
So many times this tournament just takes control of a round and marches on forward. A good recovery because that vertical nade play coming in, we saw Felipox use both of them, find absolutely no one.
کوچشون رو ببینم یه بار دیگه کوچشون چقدر آشنا بود
West side of top floor, getting a plant in through the window was their game plan in that round, and they sort of had to adapt there. So full credit to W7M, figured out things really well despite the disruption coming out of G2 in the early round and managed to pull us back to one apiece.
کوچشون میکنم خودش بازیکن قبلا بازیکن پرولیگ بود مال تیم برزیلی بود اگه اشتباه نکنم من تو منو دارم مسابقات میبینم داشت امید
I was curious to see which side's most popular here because split we very rarely see. We've seen it play 3 times.
در اسکینای پرولیگشون چقدر تخم شده. چطوری مانستر؟ خوبی؟ خوش اومدی؟ یالا.
0% win rate. Yet G2 have opted to take that slightly
کلا تیم‌های برزیلی خوبن. آره برزیلی خوبن. برعکس هر جا موقعیت کمتر میشه مثلا مغز آدماش بهتر کار میکنه خدا شاهده. اینقدر کم بوده امکانات هست مجبوری هم مغزت بیشتر از اندازه استفاده کنی.
Absolutely that. It looks like W7M for the time being are trying to push in to the basement, but they're also paying a little bit of attention to admin. You'd historically have seen them push in vertically, try to again get that vertical superiority, but for the time being it looks like it's going to be quite a direct approach, maybe quite lateral, get themselves into garage, control long angles, and then drop those hatches to apply pressure into archives from both sides. But
نکن تیم پلیرها خوب اینجوری خودشون گیر چیز نمیندازن میدونی گیر بوم سایت نمیندازن انقدر محوطه رو بزرگ میکنن تا میتونن وقت بخرن پرولیگ اگه دیده باشی همیشه 15 ثانیه آخر هر اتفاقی میفته تو طول میکشه تا بتونی این همه جا رو جمعشون کنی اینجوری تاشون کنی اینجوری ببریشون تو Still good map control being taken, but for Leapox, he's snaking his way through construction, holds him. I don't think they know that he's here right now.
No, I don't think they've got any idea, and he's got Herds in support as well, who I think who they are aware of, and Virtue's going to take him down with a nitro for Leapox. Might be left wishing that he'd moved a little bit quicker. He does manage to get that trade there, but Herds was still lost along the way. 4v4. Alamau, he's tucked tight around this corner.
پاشو داری میبینی پاشو
He's going to be finished off, which will give him away.
یارشو به گا داد خدا وکیلی سر همین حرکت من دارم با کیفیت 720 پای یارو رو میرم تو نمیبینی چطوری ایلیا خوش اومدی
Alamau going down is a bit of a stinger because he had those smokes.
Serenity ki yadشه.
Excellent for the Denial, as we know, in the late
Serenity?
round, lasted a good while,
من یادم
really
نیست.
forcing the attackers to have to make a risky decision, whether you're pushing in through smoke or rotating players away. It forces action from the other side. Now they are inside the sight, Tim. Nade's got the shield in hand to make use of here as well. Going to try and stick a plant out on this one. Uno's in a good spot, but didn't know Philippox is close. Has found himself a double. Nade into yet
So
another.
was
It's a 1v3
more
yet
babush.
again, and Benja is forced to drop, and W7M are getting ahead here, Tim, 2-1.
A great setup from W7M there. Just got control of sight. Knew exactly what they needed.
خوب دارم پلی
Basically
می‌کنم.
took nothing extra. You know, they didn't waste any time or bodies chasing after.
شاید مپشونه فکر کنم. من احتمال میدم مپشون باشه
They
کنسول.
knew if they could get Nade tucked in there behind those racks that he'd be able to get that.
اپیکو باله برای پا بودم باید ببینم.
You know, a moderate amount of safety.
خیلی تاکسیکه این JV 92 بیشتره.
They were able to pick them up. They were just running.
بعد تاکسیک هم باشی دیگه داداش. کری خوندن اصلا جزئی از بازیه.
Again, I like what they're doing here. We've seen it 2 rounds in a row. It didn't work out really on console office because Nade got picked up as soon as he went in. They still got the round, but it was based on kills. But W7M have been playing very much objectively here, trying to get themselves in, trying to get that diffuser down, just looking to create the small amount of space that they need to do so.
کار همون اول میتونست بکنه به قرآن.
Playing a bit closer together. I mentioned it last time. You had them spread a couple out towards the west. You had a couple playing on first floor. And it just really made things easy for W7M to get their push forward. And sure, they lost a player or two, but you had someone
این
pushing
گوزو
back
چه ارسی میخوره.
quickly. You had Herds pushing in through Visa. You had Philippox bottom of construction. They've walked into so many.
الان این دفعه دیگه اشتباه سری قبل رو نمیکنن اونجوری برن خودشونو به گاه بدن. نگاه کنید ببین چجوری درستش میکنن این قضیه رو.
So W7M was really good paired up play, made sure they were always staying at least even with G2, and again because G2 was so far off site, it was all too easy to just hit site, take control.
ان نکن دیگه. ان نکن.
And force G2 to come to you.
Yeah, W7M doing a great job so far of just basically disrupting what G2 want to do, and that's by not playing into it. They just have their own game plan. They're just heading straight into sight, thinking about that objective, and forcing G2 to be the ones who are reacting to them and what they're doing. So for the time being, they've got most of the runouts covered. The claymores have gone down. The due diligence has been paid. KZ's going to get himself up onto the top floor, and that's going to leave them with JV92 opening up the closet, reviewing. They are this time looking for that vertical control. They learned the lesson last time in Piano. Uno was able to shut it down from above. W7M, they want to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, last time it was all about the vertical nades. Doki steps up with the entry in this round at the very least as a starting point, but yet again the trade is there. I love how close we're seeing W7M play together. Just everything is coming down to a 2v1 or making sure they have an answer. Here they pulled themselves ahead as Alamar's been taken down as well. C4 offline. Looking a little bit ropey once again for G2. W7M just looking clinical, like they're on a mission here today, Tim.
Yeah, certainly starting to struggle a little bit, and we've seen the attackers have difficulties on Consulate so far. It's a big map, there's a lot of small rooms, a lot of clearance work needs to be done, so G2 having the defense to begin with need to really be trying to get a few rounds in the bag here and take the pressure off when they are on the attacking side. JV92 is going to take a lot of damage, and Benja
خیلی حرومزاده است.
himself a nice easy headshot.
Benja absolutely loves playing lobby dash. We've seen him play on Mozzie a few times across the competition where he'll just sit there, wait for all the drones to be exhausted, and then spring up and make his play. It's not quite the same play there, but he's used the explosives as the information as well as damage to know when to swing. Because very fair.
نمیدونم چرا چیزی درون واسه فلنک نذاشتن.
And sure enough gets the turn back. And now Benja started moving, just misses the second. Makes it a 2k in the round and brings us 2 versus 2. It's Uno and Virtue to hold out against Philippox and KZ.
KZ's going to take a lot of damage there, but the vertical control is starting to hurt G2. They haven't been able to retake above, and it leaves Uno in a 1v2 on site alone as he moves around. He knows that the pressure's there. He just needs to bide his time. He knows that there's going to be an opportunity onto the Ash, but Philippox is getting that diffuser down once again. Uno unable.
Ash فقط نباید پیک بده. تمام شد.
That diffuser, and again W7M have just been able to focus on that objective and get the round done. As you say, it's going to be very difficult for Uno from here as he steps through.
گفتم تمام شد. اینجور جاست که اون یارو باید کاورت بده تا پلنت بشه، بعد شده 2 نفر 45 ثانیه. حالا بیا درستش کن 38 ثانیه. حساب تو مچ پوینت بمیره پا میشه میری طرفو میزنه. من نه بابا، من مسابقات یه بار رفتم خیلی آروم وسط. تو مسابقات خیلی آروم.
These players are playing right now. You see constantly W7M take a gunfight, they lose it, G2 get the entry, there is an immediate response. It isn't happening the same way. Alamau got picked up in the mid round.
اونجا میدونی آقا هر کی اومده صدشو داره میذاره. خب دیگه اگر نشه اونوریا خیلی قویان. کارش نمیشه کرد. یه سری داستانا داره. مثلا ایرانی ها رو نمیدن اینجا. راه نمیدن اینجا. ایرانی ها سطحشون نمیخوره که بخوام بیان اینجا بازی کنن.
Through yellow pillar, they got taken down by Virtue. Uno was in support of him. This time they look at it and they say, no, we're going to go for top floor control. We're going to completely sort of flip reverse what we're trying to do on the attack, and it just worked beautifully for them. They did well to get hold of that top floor control, even with only 2 members remaining on side, and it basically won the round out for them as that diffuser went down.
یه چایی همون بیاره. الان میاد پایین.
In round 5, smarting a little bit from a 3-1 start, and they're going to be back up onto that top floor. The frost comes along this time for Benja. That's just going to prevent that rappelling through the window being too dynamic, at least, unless that's been taken out.
I think you're going to see nades rifling on through, Flores softening things up before. You see the Amaru play coming from KZ here, no doubt with the diffuser in hand, but again, that timeout for me, we've got to see them playing a little bit tighter together. We're not breaking out of the site rotation, though. We've seen first floor, second floor, and then split site in that first quarter. We're so far following that here in the second. Curious to see if we replay the split site going into round 6, but first and foremost, we've got to get through this one. Again, looking towards the Decabi that you are going to see basically every round that it's available. Just really helps them sniff things out from below with those nades in the back pocket of Herds, and also, I imagine, helping Philippots get in and clear out some of the utility or force players away from key positions.
G2 at the moment need to get themselves running in this one. We've said, you know, so far they've not lost here. You know, they've gone through win after win. And you just ask how much of G2 been tested up to this point. You know, is this going to be the real first time that they have their backs against the wall and they're sort of facing that pressure? And can they stand up to it? Alamau, he can't stand up. That's going to be 3 smokes gone as well. Herds taking him down with a big opening kill, and a little bit of old chat going on as well.
Oh, they love it. Every single round end, they've been in old chat, just whining Alamau up as best they can, writing some Portuguese back and forth, but for Alamau, there's a bit of an ego peak. You know, there's no reason for you to swing that window. Knowing that they've been working off the top of the roof, you know there's a very fair chance someone's going to be holding that angle, or at least in close proximity. And you stepping out, well, you just pay the price for it. They're down without their smoke yet again. KZ into a second. G2 not playing that tighter gameplay that I mentioned. You've got Doki off towards Spiral. You've got one playing inside a site. Uno on the Warden. Still really scattered here.
Yeah, very isolated, and it's very much about can you win your individual fights, but when you're coming up against 2-3 players from W7M, those individual fights become extremely difficult, and that's what G2 are seeing at the minute, so the pressure will continue from W7M on the yellow side of the map.
رفتم سیب زمینی آوردم. مامانم اینقدر روغن میزنه.
Uno's just holding tight, preventing that rappel coming in. Doke does manage to pick up KZ, they're going to block off the window, so G2 just battening down the hatches a little bit, but it doesn't matter when JV's going to walk up.
گرفتن حاجی این راندن پشمام.
And W7M grab themselves another round. This one is running away from G2 quickly.
Even when you've got players like Doki pulling off a brilliant play there, you know, the man's got massive gonads. He sits there while the Kiva barrier is being beaten on.
این راندن بگیرن کار سخت میشه واسه جی تو.
Shot by the player coming up. Yeah, I'll mute Jammer. Doki, be cool, sorry. While the player's coming up, maybe pick Clash. That wouldn't be a bad shout because surely it can't go much worse, right? But he turns off the call while the player from yellow rounds the corner. They can't hear him, not quite sure where he is, and he does walk away with a kill. But that's just a small
زمینه دارم میخوام و زمین میزنم اورژانس بگم آماده باشه. روغن رو نگاه کنید خدا وکیلی توش. تازه انقدرش کف مایتاب است. روغنش رو گرفتم شدی. بست نخورم.
Last round of the half though, Tim, it's going to be down in the basement. Like I said, you can see all 4 sites on this map. And that's exactly
مپ
G2 really need this.
جی تو هم هست. پشمام مپ جی توه.
I won't quite call it catastrophic. You know, it could always be worse, but a 5-1 half is going to be a very difficult comeback. I mean, don't get me wrong, this has been a major of comebacks. We saw a real attempt from SSG yesterday, which was a fantastic watch, and you know, who knows Maybe G2 can channel a little bit of that spirit to try and get themselves back into things here, but you just look at it, and if W7M get 5, they only need to be able to lock down one site on the defense. They only need those 2 rounds to be able to close out the first map, which is, of course, G2's map picking. You just look at it, it's been a permaban for W7M.
It has.
It looks like they've been hiding it. It looks like they've been ready to go.
ولی گیر فکر کردن که میاد اسم.
Imagine counter prep against G2. They knew coming into this series that G2 were going to pick Consulate. It's one of their go-to bread and butter.
بجد امید تو تیمشونه.
Tournament that way, but are certainly growing into it as we look over history. Now, for them, they can look back at all the games G2 have played and gone, look, we know exactly where the players are going to play. We know what the setups are going to be. We can deal with this.
بشین سر ایمتو بگیر پایین
hesitation coming out of W7M. They need to get this right because otherwise they're stuck using those 10 openers from Buck to try and get this wall open.
Yeah, just trying to send the nade in. KZ's getting it lined up. He just wants the pressure in behind there. Virtue does manage to avoid it and he is going to get the second
back.
That is big for G2.
من بهتون قول میدم درست به کاری نمیشه.
W7M Virtue hanging on by the skin of his teeth down here in the basement, but the wall stays closed. That means now Herds has probably got to be the one to step up and
تون آورد. شد 15.
Also remembering they've got to attack him from server side as well. You need this pinch on this side. They've already got 2 players out towards server. They aren't going to get main breach. That is now a big problem that W7M need to overcome.
من تمام ایرانی خیر همیشه دعوام نه با این اینجوری نیست به اینجوریه نداشت کاور بک نداشت
Someone's there for the trade. Benja picks it up and then gets himself out of danger. It's 4 versus 3. There's only a minute left on the clock.
باکه نمیکشه بالا بازی کنه
They've been left scrambling.
کار کیریه میراه نمیذاره بری تو خب سلطان
You bring a glass specifically to play behind the smokes from the thermite, but you can't get the breach open. You're a little bit screwed in that situation, and you've still got G2 players out roaming around the map. Now, Benja's about to get challenged here. This is a big one to win, and he will win it against Herds. A 4v2, but we almost saw the loser 1v5, but Benja is not going to miss his shot.
اینا قشنگ بنجا مستر در بود یکم آزامیشون نذاش دیوار باشه
For G2 there, a 3k for Benja, a double for Doki, and it may well just propel them into that second half. We've said it a few times through this tournament. If you're going to win 1 or 2 rounds on defense on the first half, make sure that one of them is round 6 because you can at least carry that momentum into that second half. G2 move on to the attack, and it might just give them a little bit
چرا چیز نیاوردن ترمایت نیاوردن
You've got your setup, you've got your positions to play, and you kind of feel like, yep, you've got to hold on to those, and it's difficult to maybe play fluidly, whereas on the attack, you're problem solving, you're going in there, you can say, right, this isn't working, we're going to move elsewhere, we can change things up, and maybe, just maybe, that is what G2 need.
Maybe, just maybe. They're very good with their attack inside. You hear the devs talking a lot about their prowess on that attack, right? This is where you should see.
ایمت خوب باشه یه ذره هد لول بازی کنی ها خب لامصب این گان مازیو نمیشه کاریش کرد دیگه احتمال زدنت 70 به 30 30 به 70 ببخش
G2 obviously tried to mix things up a little bit in that first half, but couldn't quite get the numbers to end what they would call a strong half.
نه 70 به 30 نبخشید 70 به 30
instead bringing along the 0 so good, you know, a great operator really, and a little bit underused sometimes. I think he's got that hard breach, he's got information utility in terms of his cameras,
اینجا وایسا صداشو بگیره وایسا بشنوه داره میشنوه ولی این داره میره دیگه یه دونه دیگه بوم
I was going to remark, we've got Jaeger and Wamai on side, but G2 are absolute vertical nade merchants. They love this. I speak about the stat line all the time, but Benja doubled the second place number of explosive utility kills back at SI. And Doki said, I said this to Doki yesterday, and he was like, but I get a lot as well. And I'm like, okay, fair enough then. And they're doing that just now, Tim. So bring Jaeger and Wamai all you like. G2 love their vertical nade. You are not going to be expecting them to go laterally. And so far they found that down, turned it into a kill off the back of it. And Doki is still...
ژرفا 8 تا فرق آوردن از زیر فقط فرق می‌کنن. نایس. بنجا رو زد. خوب.
Nearly halfway through the round now. G2 just need to be thinking about what control they've gained as well. Yes, they've been able to use those vertical nades. Yes, they've been able to do a bit of damage and get an opening kill. But what have they done in terms of map control? If it comes to the point where it's time to put that diffuser down, right now they wouldn't be able to.
60 بار تا حالا دو کیوی کالات شده. الان همه‌شون میدونن. اینو همه میدونن.
They're trying to push in at the same time here and make this work, but it's just not really coming to fruition yet.
No, W7M
دوکیوی خواهی نکرد داره.
bit of a brick wall on the defense here, not really allowing G2 any space. Like I say, no real control of site itself at this moment in time with any view to getting the diffuser down. Doki's just sort of roaming around underneath thinking where it is going to be best to pop up and strike, but with 50 seconds left to go, he's going to have to make a decision sooner rather than later.
Well, he tried Spiral and got blocked there, so he's moved his way over towards Yellow now. So G2 are trying to poke holes in this defense, find the right way through, but here comes her to the backside and Doki.
اوه چه پوتیتویی
There's still one more top stairs though. G2 are still in a 2 versus 3.
چه
W7M remain on top.
W7M might have the lead, but they can't be giving G2 opportunity.
حاجی زشته بعیده عیبه خدا شاهده بابا تو پرولیگ باشی اینجوری پوتیتو تب بگیرید بخندید
Always regarded as a team with a very wide map pool. You know, at this point, you're probably adding one more to it. Consulate being that permaban through all of stage 2, through all of this tournament, and showing, my God, can they play it? Schooling GT.
بعد اصلا بعد رید قشنگ اصال بودین در ریدن گذاشته بود.
Map 2 when it comes round to it because, well, exciting if you're a W7M fan anyway. It feels like at this point the momentum is so strongly with them that we're going to have to see something really magic come out in the break between these two maps.
Going to be heading into round 8 then. G2 going to be looking to reset a little bit after that. They had some good progress to begin with. They got themselves underneath. They obviously had a lot of information. The vertical nades were kind of working for them. They got a kill. They, were able to follow up on that down as well. And it felt like there was something going, but then as soon as it came to moving onto the top floor, they just weren't able to dislodge whatsoever. There was no attention given from G2 really over towards the admin side, and W7M were just able to use that as the wall to brace themselves against, to push back from the onslaught that was coming from Spiral.
هفت تا کورن ریویو داره. چرا چت نداره پس؟ بذار پاپ اوتش کنم چتشو.
You've seen it again in that moment. He's won a really good gunfight. But these things
چرا
happening in
چت نداره؟
isolation around are never going to be enough to win when WCM
آها اینو رادمر چطوری خوبی چتت نیومده بود شرمنده خیلی خوش اومدی
They're just on top in every other way. And G2, you know they're getting a bit desperate here because that shield is coming out. They want to try and make this work, but it does require getting into the breach first and foremost. Nade almost losing his life there from the long shot.
Yeah, definitely needs to be careful now. He's going to block up that for the time being, but the breach is open and will likely be followed up on, and we'll see that keeper barricade will be cleared out. Nitro goes out. W7M maybe just looking a little bit rattled here as everything getting
گان مازیه بابا سوخ نمیده خودش یاد مازی گانش آجی مچ پوینت رو به نظر پنگوی مگه مانتی برمیداری
So frustrating again. They tried to make a push in here and lost 2. It was exactly the same as W7M on their pushing towards.
نکن اون زمان پنگو بوده این کارو میکرد کار شما نیست هزار بار نفت کردن گان مازی گانش قویه خدایش همین الان هم قویه باز تو مازی دوست نداری بازی کنی؟ مچ پوینت رو بنازم
and it's all on Doki to clutch up big, and it's simply not going to happen.
Is he going to close him down? And it just really doesn't matter what questions G2 try to
مثلا مپ خودشونو اینجوری باختن پشمام.
just have the answer every single time. Even at the beginning of the round there, I said it looked like W7M were just a little bit shaky, a little bit, right? You know, you had that damage done immediately to the Azami. You had JV sort of throwing that nitro out and just trying to get something going. He obviously felt he was being pushed maybe a little bit harder than he was. But yeah, W7M again just managed to steady things and just say, yep, that's fine, we'll wait for the gunfights to come. And they just, that's the big thing for me. They're just winning almost every single gunfight.
Herds just will not stop giving Alamau stick after every single round.
روحیه‌شون بیگار رفته ها، بیگار رفته درست.
It's been a rough map for Alamau. We spoke about the swings.
در حدیه که دارن میگن ولش کن مپ بعد. قرآن در اینه. داغونه.
Before we get into that second map.
G2, no more mistakes. It's 6-2, and they've got 4 rounds to find back-to-back. And with the way things have gone at the minute, it's difficult to see where they're likely to come from, Des. W7M, they're just taking us on a tour of Consulate at this point. They move from garage over to the other half-basement side.
Available. پولاتونو ببرید برید اسکین بخرید.
Backside of the map, so much the same from them. Likely they'll probably try to hold on.
7% off.
Got Felipox on the pulse over there. He's going to feed the information in for any push that's coming from that side of the map. There's not too much of a top floor presence.
چرا دهن من میدی؟ به تو که نزدیک‌تره بکن دهن خودت.
JB92, sorry, up on the top floor on the castle. Does have the Oryx that can get up there
خداحافظ.
quickly to support as well. But it might be an opportunity for G2 to get themselves established in the map.
Key difference here to G2's defense coming out is the pulse of Felipox. They're still playing very similar positions otherwise. You've even got Nade playing up where Alamau was on the smoke previously. Really trying to force their way through here. So Nade has got to be careful. All of them trying to work their way in. But for me, Pulse playing in the middle of this team can just feed information on any pulse or any pushes that come on through. Let the team know when they've got to rotate resource around. That information game was what was missing for G2 on their defense. But W7M have plugged that gap.
Just very conscious still, G2, of the potential for aggression coming out of W7M here, because they've got the opportunity. They've got 4 rounds in hand, so they can sort of roll the dice a little bit, and that makes this even more difficult for G2 to play, because W7M can just get even more unpredictable. They can take those little risks. But for the time being, G2 have got themselves into a good spot here. They can start opening up that wall that's going to give them a long angle through into sight. He's just trying to prevent that, but they need to be careful. Those holes work both ways. And W7M have been picking up every opportunity that's been presented to them so far.
This attack is so tight coming out of G2. Everyone boxing in towards server except Benja, who's playing a bit of distraction, a little bit of backstab on the other side. This feels like a classic siege execute potentially building up. Hertz is going to find one. Benja getting his kill elsewhere on the map. The problem is, Tim, this is one of their side players going down here as well. This is the execute focused gun they need. And really here, they're looking for crossfires to protect Uno on that push in. They've got no smokes to play behind, for example. Everything is going to be off this Monty getting into a strong position and a plant probably going down behind him.
This is it, and at the moment it just doesn't seem like G2 have had that sort of look realistically. Uno just again dancing around that door, like you say, maybe just not supported enough to be able to get into sight. And with only 50 seconds left to go, there's work that needs to be done. There's hatches that can't be opened because they're electrified. There's, you know, so much stacking up against G2 here that it's going to be a very tough finish to the round. Herds, he's got that nitro place. If he hears that castle barricade knocked, he would have gone. But no, instead he's going to give himself an option to get onto the flank.
They're transitioning towards the ground floor hit, I think, here. They've abandoned on the downstairs, but it's a bait, because Uno's still coming in through server. All attention has been pulled upwards. Uno, if he goes down here, it's over.
It's Alamau, he's going to be taken out with a nitro from below. It's 2 versus 2, 15 seconds left to go.
She's just a Montier.
To get a plant down, he drops the shield to offer some sort of fleeting protection as that diffuser goes down. Will it be stuck? Benja needs to get through here from the cover. Nade manages to close it out, and surely that is the end of Consulate. W7M in quick fashion come in and send
İnsan bir avuç selam تره مسابقه نبینیم فیناله بیا با هم مسابقه ببینیم اصول برو تو مانتی رو گایید خطشو گرفته بودن نمیذاشتن بره سمت مانتی
G2 are shaking their heads there. I think, you know, one thing we look towards, of course, is that SI Grand Final, slightly different roster. answers, but Cafe and Oregon were two of the maps that
خوبم بردن 7 خدایش خیلی چیز بود.
Well, I'm sure the Nets have got a lot to say. Shell shots over there, Fresh. Let's find out.
I mean, there's a lot that we could be saying about that game, but I feel like everything was said by W7M and the server. Dread from it, run from it. Destiny arrives all the same. That map win streak from G2, they hadn't lost since what, September the 24th or however long it was, and now it's finally been broken, and W7M are one map away from a grand final again.
Indeed, Jacob, and you know, we talk about that streak coming through from G2, but who did they play to get that streak, Jack? Oh, Secret, Dun Limited, Eminem, ITV, Fury, Dark Zero, Scars.
امید چطوری؟ خوبی؟
Who are these teams?
None
None of them
خوبی.
are W7M.
No, that's absolutely true. Genuinely, I
چرا
know you. You're
نمیای؟
flipping all the way, Jesse.
چرا
Backstage, you're
نمیای؟
saying G2.
ها؟
I never said
چون
that.
دارم چیز نگاه
چرا
میکنم.
نمیای؟
A very, very bad
چقدر
match.
مسابقات؟
And I think we said it in the map.
فینالشه دیگه.
W7M have been permabanning away Consulate and Nighthaven.
آره
Now,
فیناله.
G2, they had to know that if they left Consulate open against G2, they were going there. And G2 took that bait perfectly. Because W7M, they clearly played the map.
یه راندم مدیون چیز بودن.
We've been
تویچ
talking
نگاه
about attacks.
میکنی؟
Those attacks have not been
ها؟
there. And we even said we want to see them
تو
closer
تویچه؟
together. We want
آره.
to see them doing more direct takes. Get into site early, giving themselves plenty of time.
نکن اینجا همونجا که یه
And that's
گره رید.
exactly what we saw. A 4-2 attack half from Consulate is pretty much unheard of.
But you said this was a map that G2 were converting into their own. What the
Yes.
hell went wrong?
I said it, and I'm just going to say it again, is that when Alamel can be inconsistent, this G2 team is going to look amazing or very bad. And we
Kaiser.
saw exactly the same thing happen at Copenhagen main stage, where Alamel basically got a little bit of nerves, a little bit shaky against the Brazilian team then, and he's doing the same now. His scoreline individually affects his calling, and that, I think, affects G2 on the whole, and I think that's why you saw it be 1-3 down. You knew where